Bon Appetit presents Chicago Gourmet has been going on for 10 years, and this year they want to blow it out. They want to put out all the stops. So in addition to the usual hamburger hop and Saturday and Sunday of Chicago Gourmet, they've added 10 additional events happening the week before and up to including that weekend. Some of the things going on include a party on the ledge at the Willis Tower that you can get tickets for. That is one of the nights. They have Tony Mantuano hosting a Riverwalk Venetian-themed dinner and drinks and wine. It sounds wonderful. And one of the big things they're doing, have you been to the new park at Wrigley Field? Right outside there, they got the big screen. They have cocktails. They're setting up a very special Chicago Gourmet ballpark fair at Chicago Gourmet, and that's going to be at the park at Wrigley, and there are still tickets for that. Paul Kahn of Publican and 5 or 6 Blackbird, Avec, he put all those restaurants on the map. He's going to be there with Jeff Morrow, the Sandwich King, whose favorite color is pastrami, and they're all going to be there. So make sure you go to Chicago Gourmet and look at what they have as some of the special events. I would say 8 out of the 10 are already completely sold out. Also, Saturday Chicago Gourmet already sold out. So what I'm saying is you have to act quickly in the next day or a couple of days to make sure you're a part of this. Sunday Chicago Gourmet, still a handful of tickets left, but they're almost gone. They have wine tastings. They have the Grand Cru, which we'll talk about a little bit later on, which is some of the best wines in the world presented at a special premium at Chicago Gourmet. We're going to talk about a pairing of champagne and caviar that one of our special guests hosts. It's an amazing weekend. It used to kick off with the hamburger hop on Friday night. Now it's a whole week of events, and see if you can get in on it. Today, we're going to try to jam as much of the Chicago Gourmet weekend experience as we can in 30 minutes or less. So what I'm saying is we are attempting the impossible. But who better to do that than these two guys right here, 2 old friends of mine. They traditionally close out Chicago Gourmet Sunday evening, the last demo, because, frankly, no one can follow them. It's always Tony and John and Jimmy Banos, the terrible trio. They close out Chicago Gourmet. And let me introduce them fully to you right now. In this corner, weighing in at 670 pounds, a man who got his start at Everest with Jean Joho. He also worked at Kiki's, trained in French cuisine, opened his own restaurant, Savrin, which was a 3-star French restaurant in Chicago, right there on Wells.
Correct.
On Wells there. He has also opened River Roast, which is one of the most beautiful restaurant spots in the city of Chicago, right there on the Chicago River, across from the Riverwalk. He and Tony, I think, were probably partying in England, in London, and going to some of these places that roasted food and said, you know, it'd be a great idea if we brought this to Chicago. Was that the general idea, Johnny Hogan?
Essentially, yeah. There was a few pints in there involved.
This is John Hogan. How about a hand for Chef? I follow him on Twitter at Chef Hoagie. That's your Twitter handle. And River Roast is a wonderful place where you can get roasted beef, you can get chicken, you can get fish. But, you know, one of the things, because he's such a stylist and such a classically trained chef, that he provides you with the opportunity to buy what I think is the best charcuterie in the city of Chicago.
Thank you, Len. Appreciate it.
Don't you think so?
I agree.
Pretty amazing. And to his right, weighing in at 197 pounds.
I wish.
Wow.
I like to stay on his good side. He is the man behind one of the most acclaimed Italian restaurants, not only in Chicago, but in the country. His resume here and his bio is 2 or 3 pages long. He's been nominated for James Beard Awards something like 10 or 13 times for outstanding service. James Beard Award winner as best chef. Was it Midwest, Great Lakes?
Midwest.
Something like that. The author of 2 cookbooks, one with his wife, Kathy Mantuano, who's here as well. He also oversees the wonderful Terzo Piano in the Art Institute. I don't know if you've ever been to the restaurant at the Art Institute. It's amazing to go there and eat. And he also, you know, you can still find him at the amazing Spiaggia, one of the most beautiful rooms in the city of Chicago, to have a very fine dinner. How about it for Tony Mantuano? Now, today they're going to be demonstrating something that everybody thinks about when they think about growing up and having dinner when mom was in a hurry. And it also represents part of what Chicago Gourmet is all about. You're going to have world-class chefs from all over the country and also around the world come in, and they'll demonstrate all kinds of things. But one of the great things about Chicago Gourmet, you'll also get to see chefs make things that you can actually do at home, instead of putting a single shrimp on a tendril that's been carefully sculpted and photographed before eaten. These guys will show you how to make, for example, today, macaroni and cheese. John, what do you got going on?
All righty. I got to ask Tony a real first quick question. What's your least favorite cheese in the world?
Something French. I would say Swiss cheese, even though it's not French.
Or the Swiss make it, it's called Gruyere, which
Okay.
I knew is Tony's least favorite cheese. So what do I make? Mac and cheese with Gruyere. Why
You're
would
the
I
best.
not?
You knew that, right?
Not only that, last year we did, what did we do last year?
We made grilled cheese.
Grilled cheese sandwiches.
Grilled
That's
cheese,
right.
and one of the grilled cheese sandwiches, I want to mention who it was because I was moderating that, went up in flames in front of our eyes.
This was that Tony's?
I had nothing to do with that.
That was not Tony.
Well, he
No.
blamed Jimmy, but...
No,
Yeah.
It was Jimmy's sandwich. He blamed me. In
Oh,
fact,
that's right. You turned the oven up.
No, I
Jimmy
didn't
Banas
turn
of
it
Heaven
up.
on 7 is part of the Terrible Trio. He'll be there Sunday closing out the fest.
So last year I did a croque madame, which is a French sandwich with ham and cheese and an egg. So I, made a ham and cheese sandwich and cut the bread out and did what I knew as an egg in the hole. What'd you know? Toad in the hole?
Toad in the hole.
And it was, by the way, 3-0 for who won that?
You won.
So,
Mr. Toad in the his memory fails him when he's the victor.
right. So what I decided to do this year, because last year I used Tony's least favorite cheese, so I decided this year I'm going to do the same. So we're doing mac and cheese in the style of croque madame. So
you think you're going to win again based on
there's
that?
no question, just based on flavor alone. And anyhow, so we're doing a Swiss Gruyere cheese Mornay sauce, which is a sauce made with roux, flour and butter, milk. So you make a classic bechamel sauce, what was that? The Greeks invented that, right?
Maybe. It's
Okay.
possible.
Jimmy would say the Greeks invented it for the...
I think the first thing is no one knows what a roux is. What the hell is a
I
roux?
said it's equal parts of butter and flour. Did I say that?
Butter and flour. And do you have to make sure the milk doesn't boil when you're making a
Correct.
bechamel?
You just bring the milk up to right below the boiling, to a scald.
All right.
Call.
Tony Mantuano, world-class top chef masters participant. How are you combating this upstart to your left?
I don't want to disappoint anyone, so we're going to make gnocchi, which technically
It's in the macaroni family
I would
somewhere,
think, yep.
Tony.
And then a little
It's
bit
like
of,
the redheaded stepchild of the macaroni family.
so they say. And we're going to do a cacio e pepe style, and a classic Roman dish, which is just lots and lots of cheese and pasta, and a little bit of pasta water, and 34 turns of the pepper mill.
That's where the pepe comes in, right?
That's right, exactly. And so that's what we're going to do. And I'm not going to put truffles on it like I did last year with the grilled cheese, but
You know, you put truffles on a grilled cheese, you don't come away the winner.
winner.
You
Something
got-
wrong, man.
Something's going wrong.
God, just think of how really good that grilled cheese was.
So you're going to put that together Sunday. This is just a preview.
this is a preview. And what we do with the gnocchi is we've already cooked them, and we now are going to just cook them in the pan with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. And I just happen to have one of my favorite extra virgin olive oils here.
Is
Spiaggia brand.
that a custom-made Spiaggia olive oil you have
Thanks
there?
for noticing. It's, it
You
is
know, it's a
actually.
sad thing, but only if something like that were for sale that people could buy.
Spiaggiarestaurant.com. You can purchase them.
So you even have a website.
We do have a website. It's funny, like, we've had restaurants for many years, right? Like I can remember the first time we had a restaurant that had a website, and Chicago Magazine was like, they even have a website, and it was like 1995 or something like that. So we've been around.
So you got the gnocchi. What are you hoping to do by sautéing it there a little bit?
So we're just getting a little bit of color on it, and then we're going to add some of the pasta water. And this is going
listen to that. That's a beautiful sound.
This is going to form the basis of the sauce. And then we add just a little bit of Parmigiano cheese.
A little bit. 1, 2.
Ooh.
That's
And
it.
by the way, these are no small mitts. So it'd be, for most normal people, 4 mitts.
I'm borrowing
Tony,
your
2
spoon.
mitts.
Now that's a classically trained measurement. If
It
you're
is.
in the kitchen, it's 1 mitt, 2 mitts.
So the key, Lynn, is just keep stirring it until it just sort of all comes together. And at the same time, John has graciously offered to give me 34 twists of the black pepper mill. Thank you very much.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Counting? Who's counting?
I am.
4.
And then we just
Actually counting them.
continue to keep it cooking a little bit until it all comes together. May I borrow your spoon?
Of course.
Thank you. You gotta get that Gruyere out.
The
Actually,
old
Lynn's-
friends in the kitchen, old friends at Chicago Gourmet.
Can't wait to do it again on Sunday night. We'll
We
be
have a
back on
good time
Sunday.
on Sunday.
And Jimmy promised he'd be there, and I promised I wouldn't turn the oven up on him again this year. This is
So
not true.
after a year, the truth comes out.
No, it's not true.
It's on film.
And that's about it, Lynn. Just so it all
Yeah,
comes
so
together.
you want to reduce the sauce till it's nice and creamy.
Yeah, but the sauce is based on pasta water and cheese and olive oil. Nothing. It's more
You
about
can all
this.
do that at home, can't you?
Yeah, heck yeah.
All
You know
right.
Gruyere in
I
there?
got my own.
Okay, you already put some in there, so.
John Hogan.
Touch of Gruyere in his recipe as well.
John Hogan, we want to see how your magic is made here.
Okay, so again, we had the sauce that we made, and then ingredients of a croque are ham and cheese. So we've kind of chopped up some rough chop, some smoked ham, get a little smoky flavor in there as well. And again, guys, this is something that Tony actually taught me many years ago. Thank you.
Wow.
That the pasta water is kind of the secret to making a great pasta sauce. And what it does is you have that starch in there from the cooking the pasta, so it's basically a binder. You know, it's not like adding just plain water. You're adding a little starch to the dish, so it helps that sauce to stick to the noodles. So never toss if I do it at home, I'll drain 3/4 of it and then put a cup on the side and finish my sauce. Okay,
It marries the sauce, as
It
Tony
marries,
Montuano
exactly.
likes
Sauce.
to say.
Yep.
it's a marriage ceremony.
And the marriage ceremony. And you to have good food, good cuisine, you need a good marriage right there.
Correct.
With the
Now,
pasta water.
I do 3.4 turns of
1,
the pepper
2,
mill.
3.4.
Okay?
Careful, somebody turned up your burner.
What? No kidding, really? There's a surprise. So, this is, again, when you make mac and cheese, this is a great way to do it on a stovetop and then put it in the vessel and bake it with, if you want breadcrumbs or some more cheese on top, brown it. But I find when you make mac and cheese and you put it all in a vessel and throw it in the oven and bake it, it's usually kind of dry. The sauce isn't creamy still. So assemble it in a pot or pan and put it in a vessel. In this instance, we're going to use one of these.
Oh, very nice.
So it's like a side dish for this would be. And then build it into your dish, then bake it off. Is that oven still hot, Alex? Yeah? Yes. Okay.
Now, when you bake it, will you try to finish it with the broiler
Or a hot oven,
just a hot oven? We'll do it
Yeah, I
without
don't know if
using
we have the
broiler.
broiler on there just to brown the crumbs a little bit. Now, here we go. So another ingredient with the croque is bread, right? So you get 2 slices of bread. We made bread that you normally smear with a lot of Dijon mustard. So we've mixed in this butter and Dijon mustard.
Ooh.
So you're getting all the flavors of that.
What kind of bread do you start with there?
Basically any leftover bread is great for crumbs. Don't throw it out. leave it, grind it up, and you can keep it in your cupboard for a few months anyhow.
But of course,
Until the grain beetles get in there.
you generally prefer the French bread to the Italian bread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why, I don't know, because I'm not French, but...
He's Irish.
He's Irish. He's kind of Irish-French.
Oh, oui, monsieur. Oui, oui, monsieur Weimar.
What do you have there?
So
show
the
our
madame is, of course, with an egg. You can have a croque monsieur.
Oh,
Has no
you're
egg.
showing off. Look at that.
So we're going to put a little quail egg just because it's cute. Whoops,
And
kind of.
what else is on there? Is that ham? More ham?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a slice of ham. Al, you wanna
Slice
throw
of
that in the
ham.
oven?
That's
We'll
a very
heat that.
small chicken that laid that egg. Is that a quail egg?
That is a quail egg.
All right. Very nicely done.
So that's basically the dish. So.
Okay, now, when you come to Chicago Gourmet and you come on Sunday and you say, you know what, I got to stick around because at 5 o'clock it's going to be the Terrible Trio on stage, Jimmy Banos from Heaven on 7, John Hogan from River Roast, and Tony Montuano from other parts of the galaxy. I've got to be there because that's when they really start mixing it up.
Yeah, this
and it
is
gets
nothing.
ugly.
This is nothing today.
Yeah, no, they're.
This is softcore.
You know what? I think Jimmy adds a certain level of
does.
mean to the whole, and then it becomes all about ethnic cuisine,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it's
Ethnic
the Irish
bashing.
French and the Italian purist, and Jimmy Banos, who says everything was first invented
Of course.
in Greece, which in many ways is true. So how about a hand for Tony Montuano, John Hogan here. Chicago Gourmet celebrates 10 years. All right, coming up next, she was a one-time wunderkind, and by that I mean she became a sommelier at one of the vaunted French restaurants in the city of Chicago, Everest. Were you like 17 or something?
Something like that, yeah.
She was 23 when she was the sommelier at Everest. How does that happen? You saw her on TV for 10 years, hosting Check Please, which must have been a lot of fun. Alpina Singh.
Thank you. So my part is easy. I don't have to cook anything. I just have to open a bottle.
Well, before you get started, why don't you run down the restaurants that you know? You started with Boarding
I have
House.
the Boarding House, Seven Lions, and Terra and Vine. And I've been a part of Chicago Gourmet since the very beginning, 2008. And it's just been a tremendous pleasure to watch it grow. So as I've grown, the festival has grown. So particular meaning with the 10th anniversary. I was actually on stage with Mayor Daley when he first announced it. I mean, that's how far back, we all go with the festival. And so to celebrate, we have this, as Lynn had said, we have all kinds of activities that are lined up. I host a seminar every single year. This is my third year now, actually, that involves champagne, which is on Sunday. And so we take amazing champagnes that if you had to recreate the tasting, it would be thousands of dollars. And so we do everything from Dom Perignon to the vintage selections, Rosé, Blanc de Blanc, we go through it. What we're actually having here for you today is the 2008, get it? The vintage, right? Version of the Moet Chandon. And this alone is $65 if you were to go buy it, maybe somewhere between $65 and $85. And you had mentioned the Grand Cru tasting. Now, that is the one that I always recommend people try because if you're really into wine, I mean, there's no better festival than Chicago Gourmet, and there's no better part of Chicago Gourmet than Grand Cru because it would be financially impossible to go in and gather all these wines, and they're all in there in one room just for you to try. And you go from, booth to booth to booth, and they're also paired with some of Chicago's best chefs. So it would be impossible for you to do that just on your own. So it's pretty incredible.
Is it still, is there spirits involved as well?
Spirits as well, no, of course. Yeah, so Igor will be here later. And Chicago Gourmet was just named one of the top 10, I think, best wine and food festivals in the country. And this is right here. And in case you don't know, Bon Appetit named your city the best dining city in the country.
Yeah.
So definitely cause to cheer here. And so now what's exciting about Champagne is you know, of course it's celebratory. We have much to celebrate with the festival. But I like to recommend to people, you don't save it just for special occasions. It's also great on days that end in Y, right? That's your occasion there.
And no better way to start a meal.
And there's no, actually, this is my first champagne bottle I've opened today, right?
Wow.
And so
Her first
Taking
today.
you so long.
But what I like doing is I like taking something like champagne and I like pairing it with things like macaroni and cheese or things like barbecue ribs, you know, or things like potato chips. And you probably have heard about fried chicken and champagne. And it's a way to kind of take the intimidation out of something that just seems so unreachable. And that is really the ethos and the spirit of Chicago Gourmet. And, you know, I go to a lot of food festivals throughout the country. It's one of the more affordable food and wine festivals. If you look at it, like Aspen, I mean, is impossible. It's a great festival, but I can't do it because it's thousands of dollars. So it's a way for you to access all of these great chefs, all of these restaurants, all this wonderful food and wine personalities, the cocktail personalities, and you can go and spend, I mean, can you find a better location than Millennium Park? And I don't know if you know this, but Tom Skilling actually was consulted on when to have the festival.
I did not know that.
Yes. So the third week of September, according to Tom Skilling, is the driest weekend traditionally in Chicago. So if you need to get married outdoors, you want to do it the same weekend as Chicago Gourmet.
No. You don't want to get married that weekend. You want to go to Chicago Gourmet that weekend.
But you have this amazing weather, and you're standing there. I mean, even I've lived here for 17 years. I'm like, God, could the city be better looking from this vantage point? It could be the alcohol that's, you know, but it's pretty incredible.
Well, you bring that up, and I think back over 10 years, and maybe once in the 10 years there was a light drizzle on a beautiful day.
Yes, now.
But other than that, it's those
Yes.
bright, sunny, blue sky, temperatures in the low 70s. Perfect days
It's
where you think
beautiful.
if the weather was always like this, nobody could afford to live in Chicago.
Yes. No, it's true. It's true.
And we also take a lot of pride that it's a Chicago event. And here, Bon Appetit presents Chicago Gourmet. They have all these restaurant cities, New York and San Francisco and LA, and they look around and they assess what's going on in cuisine in the country. And this is the destination.
Well,
this is the place you come
absolutely,
for food.
and there's a reason why the James Beard Foundation moved what are the Oscars of the food world to Chicago, and so we have the awards up until through 2021, and you know we work closely with the foundation, and they're always so blown away by the hospitality of the community here. Actually, I was there the first year we had the awards, and all the chefs got on stage, and they all had the same speech. They started with, "Wow, you guys are really nice in Chicago." So it's incredible. So I hope you come. You know, it's like I said, it's a once in a lifetime thing, but you know, you can, you know, I hope you make it a sort of a yearly thing for yourself. And it's a nice way to also just kind of close down the summer season. And like I said, take advantage. There's a Roby House, so you can actually have a dinner with Matthias Mergis. And that's at the Roby House at, you know, actually in this like wonderfully architecturally historic space with Kerhi Nahabedian, the grande dame of Chicago chefs.
Of Naha.
Yes, of Naha and Brandy. And then there's cocktails at the Crown. We did the press conference, the release for the 10th anniversary. I'd never been up there before. I mean, the view is outstanding.
Yeah, there's a little balcony way up on the Tribune Tower, and they call that the Crown.
The Crown, correct. And then the Ledge is led by Mindy Siegel, and that's going to be a dessert thing with female pastry chefs. And so that'll be really exciting too. So
Beats and sweets.
Beats and sweets.
So it's going to be a dance party, and you know when you get a little tired from dancing, if you dance like I do, you burn up a lot of calories. You can have some of the best pastry and desserts made in the city of Chicago.
With female chefs, so a little lady power there. You can.
All power to the
Yes.
ladies.
And just think about the great Instagram photos you can take.
Do we get to try the
Yes, please.
champagne?
Here. So there you go.
Cheers to Bon Appetit presents Chicago
you.
Gourmet.
So I can't say enough great things about the festival. I'm, you know, a huge fan, and you know, so I just want everybody to come. Everybody.
Well, let's hear it for Alpinist Saying here, joining us today. Igor Polanski, come on, join the party over here. Now, one of the things you have to understand is that there is a lot of liquor at Chicago Gourmet. They keep it away from these guys for obvious reasons, but, you know, they have wine tastings we were talking about, champagne and caviar, but they also have sommeliers doing demonstrations. They have mixologists, and one of the major mixologists that's going to be at Chicago Gourmet is this guy to my left right now, Igor Polanski. He's from Southern Glazer's Wine and Spirits. He's going to be doing a cocktail demo, and Glazer's Southern Wine and Spirits has been a part of Chicago Gourmet for a long time, presenting sponsor. They provide a lot of the sommelier, well, really all the sommeliers, the mixologists, so you can go there and try delicious food. And yeah. Oh, right. Okay, this is kind of cool, because normally when a guy has to go, you know, his car's parked too long outside. Tony's got to go because he's got to oversee the culinary presentations at the U.S. Open in New York. So fly off, little bird. Tony Montuano with a dramatic exit. Isn't it just like a world-class Italian chef to upstage my man Igor Polanski right here, just as he's about to get started. So why don't you talk a little bit about the role of Glazer's Southern Wine and Spirits at Chicago Gourmet.
So let's go to exciting part. I'm kidding. Yeah, we're doing a lot of during this Chicago Gourmet. As noticed earlier, we have a lot of events actually before Chicago Gourmet. Not only great food, but great cocktails, Cocktail in the Crown, the dance and beats and sweets, lots of cocktails as well. But what's cool, that we do as seminars, and your ticket actually includes the access to those seminars. So you not only can go around Chicago Gourmet tents and taste these amazing spirits and cocktails that are created by cities, truly, I think, best mixologists in the country, but you also can learn a little bit and learn something new. And we're doing 4 seminars on Saturday and Sunday. We're doing one about agave, and we're going to focus on not only about tequila as well as...
oh, really?
Yeah, we're going to focus on tequila and mezcal.
I'll have to make sure that I'm not doing any demos at that particular time. What are you laughing at?
We also will be also doing a seminar about garden to the glass, so bringing fresh elements, fresh fruit, fresh herbs into your cocktails. We'll be doing a seminar about ultimate day drinking based on Aperol Spritz.
Ultimate day drinking?
Yes.
You know anything about that, Brian?
I'm unfamiliar with the idea of day. I mean, you're allowed to have cocktails during the day?
It's a little-known codicil.
All right, all right.
And also the one that we'll be doing is about rum, and we will focus on a word called punch, and the seminar itself called the power of punch. Why I want to do that? Because we feel like rum is very important, it's on the rise, and
well, I think punch is on the rise too. I mean, there's a punch house in Chicago, and people are talking about making punch again. It's like taking us back to a less innocent era.
Well, why punch is great? First of all, because it's very easy to make. I think there's sort of a bad reputation about punch going on. A lot of people think that it's very strong, a lot of juice there, it's very sweet, which is not true. Punch actually comes from 1600s when British West Indies company sailed all the way to India, and that's where they discovered all those spices, and obviously they had rum on their ships, and they were mixing those spices with the rum that they were provided, and they also had citrus, which helped them to cure scurry. So that's why we add citrus to our punch, and they had sugar because the truth is those days rums were not really good, so they needed to round it up, sweeten them up a little bit. Yeah. So the story is that actually punch means 5 in Sankist language. So it's a borrowed word, and basic 5 ingredients are strong spirit of any kind, citrus, sugar, tea, and spices.
Tea is part of it.
Exactly. So I'm gonna demonstrate how to make a very basic punch.
Right.
And we're gonna start with a little bit of sugar.
That's a lot of bit of sugar.
Well, we're gonna make a large volume punch.
I understand we have a lot of people to feed here.
So, and we're gonna peel this lemon.
That's a good implement to have in the kitchen. Good peeler, as well as a zester. You should all have a zester. I want you all to go and make sure you have a zester in that pull-out drawer that you never look in?
So we peeled the lemon, and also I pre-peeled and chopped some ginger in here.
Ooh, that's a lot of ginger. Fresh ginger.
Yeah, fresh ginger. And we're going to cover up with the rest of our sugar, and we're just going to sort of like muddle it all together. Incorporate those flavors. And normally we would let it sit for a couple hours, so this lemon and ginger flavors infuse.
Uh-huh. Well, these people have no place to go.
So now we have sugar. We need to balance it with our citrus, in this case just the lemon juice. And I'm also going to use pomegranate juice.
So it's healthy as well.
Yep.
It's okay, folks. It's full of pomegranate juice.
So now we have this base. We just.
I feel like there's something missing, but I'm sure you're going to get to that.
Hold on. We stir it up, and now we're going to start with our rum. I normally would measure it, but I won't this case.
I think that's the way most of us measure the rum.
That's not the end. We're actually going to use a second rum. So first we used the Cruzan, a nice 5-year-old dark rum, and we're going to add a little bit of Jamaican rum, which will add somewhat of funk to our punch.
So you're talking about putting the U back in funk.
And for the tea part, we're going to use chai tea that I obviously brewed and cooled it down. So it's very strongly brewed chai tea. And we're going to put a lot of tea, so it actually will dilute our rum, so make it more sessionable.
So how close to this, to a traditional rum, say going back a few hundred years, would this be? How many of these things would be available? I guess the fruit and the rum. Probably not the 5-year rum if you're on a sailboat to India.
Well, yeah, the rum should have been different at those times, but I mean, citrus and teas.
And the teas would have been available?
Yeah.
And it looks like you have a little nutmeg there.
Yeah, and that's going to go all the way in the end, so make sure we stir all our sugar inside the sponge. And now we need to cool it down, and we're going to use a nice large ice block, and you could use a regular ice if you're doing it at home.
Yeah, but that's so much cooler. You know
there a
what? I know
punch?
that's a rum punch, but it looks a lot like an old-fashioned I made for myself. You know, the big ice cube is de rigueur these days.
And if you are freezing this ice block at home, if you have a mold, you can actually use some fantasy and maybe freeze some fruits inside or flowers.
I have different kinds of fantasies. But I wouldn't mind molding them in a block of ice.
You can actually freeze champagne.
You can freeze champagne?
Yeah, you can freeze champagne. You can mix it with water a little bit and freeze champagne in an ice cube.
And would you put that in the punch?
I would. It makes it better, no?
That's why he does what he does. He would freeze the champagne, put it in instead of the block of ice.
And we're going to grate a little bit of nutmeg on top.
You know, before you sample the punch, you should always have a little vintage champagne. One thing I wanted to mention about champagne, I discovered a few years ago that champagne goes wonderfully with sushi. Somebody bought me some champagne with sushi, and it was just perfect. A little bit of sweetness, a little bit of the carbonation.
Here.
Is this for me or for John?
Well, you can pass around.
No, he doesn't get any.
No? You try some?
Yeah. Okay.
You put up quite a fight there, John.
Well, I've checked into a program.
I'm in the same program, but it has nothing to do with stopping drinking. That is delicious.
Okay.
It's a little bit
It
tart.
needs a little more rum in it, no? I think.
He's you know, he has a deft hand in the kitchen when he's making food, but with cocktails, he's always think it needs a little more liquor.
Salt,
That is
salt and liquor.
delicious. Cheers
Cheers.
to Glazer Southern Wine and Spirits, presenting sponsor, to all of their mixologists that are participating, and to Igor Polonsky, who showed us how to make. All right, Igor. Remember Chicago Gourmet? You got to go there. I guess Sunday is your best shot to get tickets at this point. What about the Hamburger Hop? Sold out? No, it's not sold out yet.
A couple of Tony's handfuls of tickets left.
Okay, there's literally enough tickets to put in my hand, and I don't have that big a hand, sorry to say, so get your tickets to the Hamburger Hop if you still can. And I want to thank all of you for coming here and watching this demo. Thanks to our presenters, Alpina Singh.
Thank you, Alpina.
Thank you, Mr. Igor Polonsky, John Hogan.
Thank you.
The dramatically exiting Tony Montuano. Thanks to Bon Appetit for picking Chicago as the #1 restaurant city in the country. Thanks to Bon Appetit, Southern Glazers Wine and Spirits. They do so much for us. And, of course, the Illinois Restaurant Association, without whom this whole spectacle would be impossible. Tickets for Chicago Gourmet main event weekend and the 10th anniversary events are on sale now at chicagogourmet.org. That's where you want to go, chicagogourmet.org. Easy to remember. Ballpark Fair goes gourmet at the park at Wrigley on Saturday evening with twists on classic ballpark eats. That's going to be amazing, right there in the shadow of Wrigley Field. And once again, don't forget about Sweets and Beats After Party on the Willis Tower Sky Deck late night on Saturday with desserts from Mindy Siegel and other First Ladies of Pastry. I'm Lynn Bramer from WXRT. You can hear me on the radio in the morning at 5:30. I'll sound very chipper tomorrow morning at 5:30 because I've already recorded my first open. Now you know something that nobody's supposed to know. So keep it quiet. Oh, wait a minute. We're streaming this. Forget what the man said behind the curtain. I'll be live on the air at 5:30 a.m. And make sure you check out the boarding house, check out River Rose, check out Spiaggia, check out any of Alpina's restaurants. They're pretty much all amazing. I've been to a couple of them, not all of them, I'm sorry. And one of the most amazing people in the culinary world in Chicago, the idea that she was a sommelier at a restaurant, a Michelin-starred restaurant, like ever to the age of 23, just still blows my mind. So thanks for coming, and thanks for watching, everybody. We'll do this again real soon.